friends, rhaegar here for another video. Today's video is an RPG a day video of 2015, as always, for this run. Today's video is the 13th in the series, and the question of the day is favourite RPG podcast. Now, I'm doing this quite late on today. Unfortunately, I've been very busy the last few days, not much time to record, so this is quite a late one, so I apologise if it goes up later than you expect. Also, it's pouring it down outside, so you may hear some ambient rain noise for you. Added extra. I like to be a giving content creator when I can be. Okay, so favourite RPG podcast. Now, this one is an interesting one for me because role-playing podcasts were one of the first things that really got me connected in to the whole RPG sort of industry scene, community, I guess. Back when I was still at uni, back before I knew anything about, before the brigade was a thing, or the community, depending on which terminology you use these days, or before I started watching any real YouTube videos or anything like that, I was researching into role-playing systems for uni, and one of the things I came across was a podcast that had just started doing live plays of 4th edition D&D, and I started listening to them probably from the 3rd or 4th episode, as that was the current at the time, and I just kept listening to them as time went on, and for me, they've become a kind of a constant of my RPG progression. I haven't tried the name of it yet, but the podcast basically was teaching, was both an anniversary, himself an anniversary of D&D, and teaching D&D to a new person in the group of players, and it spawned from there into a full campaign that's still going today, and I think it's amazing. The name of the podcast is Critical Hit, part of the Major Spoilers network, which is, they generally talk about comics, graphic novels, films, anything geek related, but they started up years and years ago, they started up this D&D podcast of 4th edition. As I said, 4th edition was the very first game I mentioned playing, so this directly led to that eventuality. And the stuff that they've done in that podcast is the kind of DMing that I like to try and emulate when I do fantasy. The stuff that the DM came up with, the cast of characters, the world building was really good. I mean, it may not be to everyone's taste, but I would heartily recommend you checking out some of the stuff they did. For example, at one point in the campaign, they introduced a second group of played characters, which the original group of 4 played. But what they did is, because what they did this to widen the scope, there was a big mission going on at the time in the campaign. So rather than have this 4 group of players, which slightly just going kind of around this map, basically, they split off into 2 different groups, and each group had 2 of the 8 potential characters. So each group had 4 in total, but there was a mixture of 4 of the original characters and 4 of the new ones, which I thought was brilliant at the time. It was a really clever way to show different perspectives of your world, keep the players in, mix up the characters and dynamics, and I thought it was really smoothly done. Another thing, the guy who ran it, Rodrigo, he's, I suppose, a little issue with gladiatorial combats. They're not usually that very good, from what I've seen. I'm not having go at the one you're running. I'm sure that's great, but what I've seen, no, it's been very good. But the way he ran it was really good. It made every character relevant in the tournament, even the socialising type characters, the ones that weren't built for fighting. Every kind of combat was diverse and would both at times play to their strengths and weaknesses. And this was all to do with them trying, at the time of the campaign, trying to get different gods and goddesses on board for what they were trying to accomplish, and one of them was having to win this tournament, and it was fantastic. Another thing I really liked about the podcast is one of the storylines of how one of the characters was basically playing a chess match with one of the deities, I think the Raven Queen, and how that developed over time, how the to and fro played out in his character development, him winning sort of hands against her. So it's how his powers developed and became more powerful and increased it. And he did it all through story. So like all the bits of, you gain this power in 4th edition, you gain this ability. He was actually like bringing that in via the narrative. He did it with weapons, he did it with armour, magic items, and it was beautifully done. I can't recommend the podcast enough. I'm a big fan of it. And it predates my entire RPG history. That's one of the reasons I ended up getting into this sort of thing. So, if you guys out there watching, critical hitters, you did a great job. I want to give an honourable mention to another podcast that I listened to when I actually started DMing, called Thursday Nights. It's Nights with a K. I found their podcast really inspiring as a DM, especially for 4th edition DM. I mean, how what they did in one of my favourite episodes, what it is in the kind of change from Paragon tier to heroic tier. So in D&D, in case I'm confusing you, it's different tiers of play. 1 to 10 is Paragon tier, then 11 to 20 is heroic tier. No, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing that completely wrong. Heroic tier is 1 to 10, 11 to 20 is heroic. Paragon, even, sorry, I'm tired. And 21 to 30 is epic. Although I may have not butchered this in the video. Apologies. But it's 3 tiers of play. So, in 4th edition, when you transcend to another Paragon of tier, you gain a load more abilities. Your character gets a real bump in power and what they can do. Now in Thursday Nights, what they did, which I thought at the time was just incredible, is rather than you gain this ability, you suddenly grow wings, you suddenly become a master of the arcane. No, when they went from heroic to Paragon, the GM basically said, okay, there's going to be a year break in the time of the game world. You tell me the story of what your character did in that year. So there was an entire session where there was no dice rolls, there was no massive combat. It was basically them talking with each other and just telling them a story of how their characters became paragons, what changed, what new faiths they embraced, what struggles they faced away from each other, what difficulties caused them to go beyond their limits. And that might not be for everyone again, but I thought that was incredible, that rather than just assuming it happened, they actually they in sort of play, and they kind of resolved it and spoke about it around the table and told these tales, which were really interesting. And I just took notes and thought that's what I want to do. And then one of the biggest reasons that I did DMing as well, apart from the RPG community, like Critical Hit, Thursday Nights are big inspirations for me. So I want to take the time to say thank you to both. So that's probably been a very lengthy and unexpected answer. And I thank you for staying with me for the duration and messing up the differences between Heroic and Paragon tiers in D&D 4th edition. Hopefully I won't make that mistake again. So guys, I'll hopefully see you tomorrow for another RPG a day video even. And until then, take care.